Now, the war in West Asia is no longer confined to a single battlefield. It is spreading across borders, it is opening new frontiers, and it is also raising fears that a wider regional conflict could be unfolding. The latest flashpoint is the Red Sea, where the Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen have been targeting Saudi shipping. The Houthis have said that their forces carried out some missile and drone strikes on 2 Saudi oil tankers in the Red Sea, identifying them as Encilia and Lala. The Saudi state news agency has said that Encilia was struck, causing a fire at its bow. A maritime security source said that Encilia had transmitted a distress call, reporting that it had been hit by a missile near the Saudi port of Jizan.
The Yemeni armed forces carried out a qualitative military operation targeting 2 Saudi oil tankers that violated the ban decision issued by the armed forces in the Red Sea. One of them bears the name Encilia and the other Layla. The operation was carried out using a number of ballistic and cruise missiles and drones. The strikes were accurate thanks to God and his support, and caused a large fire to break out on both vessels, thanks to God.
Now, the attacks have come after the Houthis threatened to block the Saudi ports along the Red Sea, a key route for global oil shipments. It's added another layer of pressure to a region where energy routes are already under threat. Now, Iran's near-total blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, once the route for almost 1/5 of the global energy transit, has already stoked inflation around the world by pushing up oil prices. The Yemen-based Houthis control the area near el-Mandeb Strait and the opposite end of the Arabian Peninsula from the Strait of Hormuz. The el-Mandeb carries close to 7.4 million barrels of oil per day, roughly 7% of the global output. And if both choke points were to shut simultaneously, analysts warn that a quarter of the world's oil and gas supplies could be at risk. But for the Saudis, the situation is becoming increasingly difficult. The kingdom has already redirected millions of barrels of oil to the Red Sea port of Yanbu to avoid the Strait of Hormuz. And if these shipments cannot pass through the Red Sea's southern strait, then they would have only the northern route through the Suez Canal, adding weeks to the journey and driving up shipping costs. Meanwhile, the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has accused Iran of encouraging Houthi attacks in the Red Sea.
Look, I hope that they'll stop. They shouldn't really do that. They got suckered into this by the Iranians. You know, the Houthis largely were smart and stayed out of all this throughout the conflict. But they now apparently have gotten themselves suckered into this, going after Saudi Arabia and their ships.
Now, the American President Donald Trump has already suggested that the Houthis' move to disrupt shipping in the Red Sea could draw the United States into the conflict. However, taking on the Houthis will create another challenge for the United States, which is already engaged in a direct confrontation with Iran. In the latest, explosions have been reported over Tehran as the U.S. forces have carried out another round of strikes. And the Iranian state media and American missiles have hit locations including the Shilamcheh border crossing with Iraq and Bushehr, home to Iran's only civilian nuclear power plant that is operational. On the other hand, Iran continues to attack the U.S. bases in the Gulf. The IRGC has said that they have attacked several American military bases in Kuwait. The Guards claim attacks on the Ali al-Salam base, Camp Uderi, and also a telecommunications tower, while the army has said that it targeted Camp Doha, Ali al-Salam base, and Camp Arif Jan. Now, all of this suggests that the picture across West Asia is changing very rapidly, and every day brings new missile launches, drone attacks, and military responses. Now, what started off as a clear confrontation between the major powers is now spreading across the region, with the risk of a much larger conflict growing by the hour.